Hey, it's Whitney from Butch Talk. I was interested to do a video on tattoos mainly because I think there's an interesting and not often known or talked about history when it comes to butches with tattoos, and not just butches, like lesbian history with tattoos. I've been curious about it lately and I've been trying to do some research and reading about it, and I haven't really been able to come up with a lot, but here's what I did find. I'm gonna read a little excerpt from Boots of Leather, Slippers of Gold, The History of a Lesbian Community, and they're talking about the 1940s and 50s. During the same time period, the cultural push to be identified as lesbians, or at least different, all the time was so powerful that it generated a new form of identification among the tough bar lesbians, a star tattoo on the top of the wrist, which was usually covered by a watch. This was the first symbol of community identity that did not rely on butch femme imagery. We can trace this phenomenon back to an evening of revelry in the late 1950s when a few butches trooped over to Dirty Dick's Tattoo Parlor on Chippewa Street. They're talking about Buffalo, New York, and had a tiny blue 5-point star put on their wrists. Later, some of the femmes of the group also go the idea one night and did it. The community views the tattoo as a definite mark of identification. The Buffalo police knew that the people that had the stars on their wrist were lesbians and they had their names and so forth. That it was an identity thing within the gay community with the lesbian community. The mark has become something of a tradition in local circles and has seen a revival since the 1970s. I came across that passage and now I'm intrigued to read the whole book. I mentioned it earlier. I'll post a link in the description as well. That particular passage on tattoos and as used as an identity and identification on a wrist. I'm assuming, somewhere where, like it said, like a watch could be covering it up during the day, and then the evening, it's kind of like left in the open, so everyone kind of knows, like, oh, there's a lesbian within the community and so forth. So I thought that was interesting. The 3 tattoos I have aren't used as an identification tool. I don't have any butch or lesbian or any sort of like identifier tattoo that would tell the world this is who I am. I'm curious about your tattoos as well. If you have any, is there anybody watching who does have a star on their wrists and they got it as like a butch symbol, maybe to pay tribute to our sisters that have come before us, anything like that? I'm curious. I would like to see pictures, send me a message, then make a video response to this. I'm just curious. So the small one I have behind my ear, you can maybe see it in some of my other videos. That one is a dove. It's kind of hard to make out sometimes. People think it's some sort of state or country outline. I actually was given this tattoo. A bunch of interns that I worked with in Florida for about a year, they all pitched in and bought me this tattoo. So that's cool, because all the other ones that I have, I purchased myself and I spent the time. They actually all came with me. I think there were close to maybe like 10 of us. They all came with me to the tattoo place and sat and watched me get it. So this one I have on my right shoulder. I got that one in Chicago, and it's based on a song, Shadow Proves the Sunshine. Just the idea that you wouldn't really know or experience happiness if you hadn't really experienced dark or pain. It kind of gives you appreciation for the good times when you've experienced bad. Yeah. So I got that one for that reason. And this one's a work in progress. It's going to be a half sleeve. Basically what's going on here is there's a dragon right here. The coloring is going to actually look a lot different because it's going to be really layered. And there's a lady over on this side taking on the dragon. This one, I read a story in a book called Feminist Fairy Tales, and it's basically about this dragon that terrorizes this town. They send like night after night after night to go take on this dragon, and no one can do it. No one can defeat the dragon. This lady steps up and actually ends up taking care of the dragon and defeats it. So I thought that was cool. I've also worked with kids of varying ages, and so fairy tales in general can have really good messages for them depending on how it's written and who wrote it and what their motive behind it was. Feminist fairy tales is a different way to look at it. They're not all meant to be read to like little children, but the ideas behind them are pretty positive for kids. So this one was actually done in California when I lived there. So all of my tattoos I've gotten in different states, and I think that's just kind of cool. I want to get a different tattoo for each state I've lived in because I've been at different points in my life for each one. What tattoos do you have? What do they mean? Why did you get them? Do you have any ones that point to your identification or how you identify? Or do they more have stories like mine do? Or why? What do you have any ideas for new tattoos that you want to get? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks everyone, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye. Maybe some of you have a higher threshold for pain than I do. My threshold is, I can go for about 2-3 hours and then I'm kind of like